God makes me do His will, makes me think it's my will. So obvious it's almost funny. Think about the last time you got angry, really angry, at someone who said something, did something, crossed a line. You felt it rise, that heat in your chest, the tightness in your jaw. And then came the thought, clear and certain. They shouldn't have done that. They chose to hurt me. They could have acted differently. But what if no one did anything? What if it simply happened? Not through them, not by them, just happened. Like rain falls, like traffic moves, like your heart beats without asking permission. What if every person you've ever blamed, every action you've ever resented, every word that cut you, what if none of it was done by anyone at all? This is where Ramesh Balsekar takes us. Not into philosophy, into something you can feel right now, in the friction of your daily life, in the mirror of every relationship you have. In his book, The One in the Mirror, he reveals something most of us spend our entire lives avoiding. The I, this sense of me, this person you think you are, only exists when there's conflict. Listen to how precisely he puts it. You become aware of yourself only when there is conflict. Until then, while everything was flowing smoothly, without frustration, without contradiction, there is no self-awareness in action. You only know you exist when something resists you. Think about it. Right now, before I said this, were you aware of being you? Or was there just listening, happening, just attention, just presence? But the moment someone interrupts you, the moment something frustrates you, blocks you, contradicts you, suddenly, there you are. I, me, my problem. The traffic is flowing smoothly. No one there. Just driving. Then someone cuts you off. Immediately. That idiot. Why did he do that? Doesn't he see me? You're scrolling quietly. No self. Just scrolling. Then you see a comment, a post, something that triggers you. Instantly, how dare they? Don't they understand? The I doesn't exist in the flow. It only appears in the collision. And here's what Balsekar is pointing to. If the I only shows up when there's conflict, what does that tell you about the I? It's not a permanent entity living inside you, observing life. It's a reaction, a contraction, a thought that arises in response to resistance. But we don't see it this way. We think the I is constant, real, the author of our lives. And because we believe this, we believe others are authors too, that they choose their actions, that they could have done differently. And this belief, this assumption, is the root of every conflict you've ever had. Balsekar asks you to look at your relationships differently, not as spiritual practice, as simple observation. In the mirror of relationship between you and others, between you and your own thoughts, you will see yourself clearly. Feelings, motives, impulses, fears. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. When you see yourself in that mirror, when someone does something that hurts you, angers you, disappoints you, your immediate response is judgment. They did this. They are wrong. They should change. But Balsekar doesn't let you stop there. He asks, how can I have contempt or aversion for any person if I totally accept that that person's personality is determined by programming, genetic, and environmental conditioning, over neither of which there was any control? Let that land. That person who hurt you, their personality was shaped by genetics they didn't choose. and conditioning they didn't design. Every response they have, every pattern they repeat, every word that came out of their mouth, it's the result of programming they never controlled. So how can you blame them? How can you hold them responsible for something they didn't author? And here's the part that makes this truly radical. You didn't author your reaction either. Your anger, your hurt, your disappointment, that's also programming. Genetic tendencies you inherited, childhood experiences that wired your nervous system, cultural conditioning that taught you what to value, what to fear, what to defend. No one is doing anything. Everything is unfolding. Through bodies, through minds, through the interaction of forces no individual controls. Balsekar is clear. How can I defer to anyone if I am able to accept that each action is a happening and not something done by an individual? When I cease to despise the other for any reason, the internal reaction can only be compassion. Compassion, not as a practice, not as something you cultivate, but as the natural response when you see clearly that no one is in control. When blame becomes impossible, what remains is understanding. When judgment dissolves, what's left is simply seeing. This doesn't erase consequences. It only erases the illusion of personal authorship. But the mind resists this. Of course it does. Because if no one is the doer, if everything is simply unfolding, then what about me? What about my choices, my efforts, my spiritual path? And this is where Balsekar's teaching cuts deepest. You, the one who wants to accept this. You, the one who's trying to let go of the sense of being a doer. You, the one who's practicing surrender, working on non-attachment, meditating to transcend the ego. Who is that? It's still the I, still the doer, disguised now as the spiritual seeker, the one trying not to try, the one efforting toward effortlessness. Balsekar says it plainly: suppression of pride, ambition, guilt, and hatred cannot destroy your identity. A disease cannot be cured by suppressing the symptoms. The only way is to accept that everything happens according to divine will, and that no one is really capable of doing any action or discipline. You cannot discipline yourself into non-doing. You cannot practice your way out of being a doer. You cannot achieve the understanding that there is no achiever, because every attempt to do so is still the I, still the ego, still the illusion of personal control wearing a new mask. This is the final trap, the spiritual ego, the one who's progressing on the path, the one who's getting closer to enlightenment, the one who's almost there. But Balsekar offers something else, not a method, not a practice, just a seeing. He says, that flash of total acceptance and transcendence can happen only through the intuitive apprehension of divine will as the basis of all that happens. Without the sense of personal authorship, it can happen not through your effort, not through your discipline, not through your surrender. It happens when it happens, and the you that wants it to happen is the only thing in the way. Enlightenment is not the attainment or realization of anything. It is merely the removal of a barrier, the concept of me as an individual doer. The barrier isn't something you overcome. It's something you see through. And in that seeing, it dissolves. Not because you dissolved it, but because it was never solid to begin with. Just a thought, repeated so often, you mistook it for reality. Notice what's here right now. Tension somewhere. The mind trying to grasp this. The effort to understand. Just see it. This tension, this trying, it's also arising. Like breath, like thought. No one creating it. And the one who wants to stop it? Also a movement. Also unfolding. Balsekar says, without the sense of personal authorship, you, the ego, perceive nothing. Then peace. And in this tranquility, nothingness becomes the vibrant truth, without any obstruction. What if everything you've ever done, every choice you thought you made, every regret you carry, every achievement you're proud of, every mistake you can't forgive, what if none of it was yours? What if it simply occurred through you, not by you, through this body, this mind, this particular expression of life, but not chosen, not controlled, not authored by anyone? What if the person you've been trying so hard to become, the better version, the awakened one, the one who finally understands, is just another idea, another thought, claiming to be you? God makes me do His will, makes me think it's my will. So obvious it's almost funny. And in that obviousness, in that seeing, there's no one left to be angry at, no one to blame, no one to fix, no one to become, just life, unfolding exactly as it must, not because of fate, not because of destiny, but because in this moment, with all the causes and conditions that have ever been, this is what's arising. This thought, this breath, this hearing, this understanding, or confusion or resistance, all of it simply occurring. And who is understanding this right now? Can you find them? Or is there only understanding, with no separate one claiming it? The peace you've been seeking doesn't come from getting better at being you. It comes from seeing that there never was a you to get better. Just events, just life, just this. If this touches something true in you, stay with us. We walk these paths not to arrive somewhere, but to discover there was never anyone walking. Just the path, just the walking, just this endless unfolding, belonging to no one, appearing as everyone, completely obvious, almost funny,